Oh, I can't wait to shit on Assassin's Creed.
Shall we begin?
It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. It's meandering movies. So won't you lend an ear?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Meandering Movie Podcast, starring
Spain,
Gary Copeland and his co-host,
the white sauce maker, Gavin.
the white sauce maker.
Yeah, carbonara, my favourite.
Why are you always making foodstuffs? Why is that?
When was the last time I made a food?
Sausage maker, Gav?
No, that's true. Actually, what about the whale whisperer? I mean, you could eat whale, but I don't.
I don't know why. We should do a cooking podcast. Cooking.
We should do a podcast about food and film.
I said this and you shot me down.
No,
I
I
said this off mic.
No, I did not shoot you down. We just, as always.
You laughed at me. You said that was a dumb idea.
I always laugh
And I
at you,
said
though.
we could do. There's loads.
There's loads.
Yeah.
But I didn't laugh at you. We just, as always, got off topic and changed the subject.
Today's subject, on that note, we're going to talk
nothing
about...
to do with food.
It's nothing to do with food. We're going to talk about video games. And specifically, just... Well, actually, no specifics, probably. We should probably be doing that. Stop just doing specifics. Just talk... We're doing video games today. 2 points we are hoping to cover.
Video game movies.
Video game movies. And 2 points we're hoping to cover are, first point, the curse of the video game movie.
Yeah.
Second point, I'm trying to think how to word it. Second point is that video game films that aren't based on video games seem to do better than video game
movies
films.
that take the kind of structure and ideas of video games, but don't like.
They don't pigeonhole them as cornhole. They don't butthole themselves. They don't pigeonhole themselves into being a video game film.
Yeah. They don't have to like follow the lore and all that kind of shit because they can just make up their own lore.
Yeah. So we'll get to that, but I think first thing we'll do, a brief history.
Ooh.
And the curse. What we mean when we talk about the curse of video game movies.
This is cursed. That is cursed. Name that movie.
I have no idea.
Okay.
What is
Continue
it?
then.
What is it?
The Mummy.
I was going to say The Mummy, but purely because what other film has that many curses in it?
That is cursed. This is cursed. Everything is cursed with you. I don't know why that came to my head. I don't know why. The Mummy's a good movie.
Yeah, it is. The Mummy's a really good
Rest
movie.
in peace,
actually.
Brendan Fraser's career.
Is he dead?
No, he's alive, but his
What's
career
he doing?
He recently showed up in like a crime drama on.
Oh, he's doing that DC TV show where he plays Robot Man, Metal Man.
Oh yeah, that looks real bad.
It looks. Did you watch Titans on Netflix?
Oh, fuck no! I watched the trailer and just like this looks real bad.
I watched the first episode and I was like, okay, just like trying to be angsty and teenagey, but edgy and dark.
Batman. It's
Yeah,
like,
fuck
you're so
Batman.
cool, Robin. No one likes you.
And
loser.
then I think 2 episodes after that, I was like, it's holding together. And then 2 episodes in a row were just awful. Hello, Brendan Fraser.
Jesus, that's a big picture of Brendan Fraser on the TV.
Philip's loaded up a picture of Audio Boy's loaded up a picture of Brendan Fraser on the TV, and it's massive.
I do remember I read this article, and it's really sad what happened. Like he was involved in that kind of Me Too thing, but he was Me Too'd, where like a producer tried to like sexually assault him and stuff like that at a function.
Oh God!
And it really like messed with him, and then also kind of messed with his career as well. And plus, in the 90s, I love how we're just talking about Brendan Fraser now. In the 90s, he was like one of the.
He was a big boy.
He was one of the main action stars, and he was doing like The Mummy and
Monkey Bone,
Jungle Book,
George of the Jungle,
and like all these type of movies. But
Looney Tunes Return,
and he would do all of his own stunts, and it got to the point where he was so messed up that he fucked up his knees and his back, and he had to stop working for a long time to just heal himself. And then
he was like the evil Knievel of cinema.
Yeah, and he shone too bright for not long enough, and then he just poop.
Evil Knievel was shit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was an awful person.
Well, awful person and just shit. Like, he's famous.
I know, I love it.
He's famous because he's a stuntman, but I think I saw a statistic the other day. I think he successfully completed 5% of all of his stunts.
Yeah,
so
if you go into like YouTube and like Evil Knievel compilation, it's just a man crumpling on the ground most of the time.
He was the human equivalent of NASCAR, except you always got to see him hurt himself. There's a story of him, like, he turned up in England to jump over like 13 double-decker buses.
Yeah.
It was like his last stunt. And he like turned up the night before to look at it. I took one look at it and was like, can't do that. That's impossible. I'm gonna fucking die. When got shit faced.
Of course.
Turned up the next day to do the stunt anyway, and fucking flew off the ramp, the starting ramp. Didn't even get to the jump part. Flew off the ramp and fucking broke his face.
And everyone applauded him and thought, he's brilliant. We love him.
He was so shit.
God, like, imagine being alive in those times where it's just like, you just watch a man just break himself and then think of himself as an American hero, a man who couldn't complete a jump. He's an American hero. Well done,
Well
Evel
done.
Knievel.
Well done, Evil Knievel. What a shit
Yeah,
name as
terrible
well.
racist
What a
bastard.
shit. He's just shit.
He's a real American hero.
Um,
Anyway, video game movies.
video game movie. So, what we mean when we talk about the curse of video game movies,
Is that-
effectively, I think Rotten Tomato, the tomato meter,
That terrible website.
which you hate, but it's, as I always say, a pretty decent read on where a film
I
lands
just want to
culturally.
once again pause for a second. We have a picture of Brendan Fraser on the TV with a carrot in his mouth that is also in a horse's mouth.
Sharing a carrot with a horse.
That's going to be the image I used to promote this episode on Instagram, so look out for that.
Damn right. But Rotten Tomatoes, I think no video game movie.
No video game movie.
And again, just to clarify, we're talking about films that are based off of a pre-existing video game.
Resident Evil or
Resident
Doom,
Evil,
Silent
Rampage,
Hill,
Doom.
Street Fighter, etc., etc.
If I remember correctly, no video game movie has a score over 50% on RottenTomato.com.
I think,
And
There's-
that's obviously critically panned pretty much universally, but even us plebs, if you side with Team Gary and not Team Gav, pretty much don't enjoy
so.
video game
Are you
films.
Team Pleb and I'm Team Wank?
Pretty much.
Okay,
Like,
that's
I'm the team simple and team pretentious.
Pretentious wank.
I mean, if we're going to market this to kids, we can't use the word wank. So
Why would we? I literally in one of the first episodes, I just screamed dog shit most of the time. What point are we marketing this to kids?
oh, here we go. Wow. Oh, so sorry. There are a few that are over 50. Two that are over 50%. And that's the two latest actually, Tomb Raider and Rampage.
Which one I didn't see being Rampage, and the other one was just a copy and paste of the video game that
Yeah.
wasted Walton Goggins. Why?
Which is bizarre. But we'll get to this because this is actually, it's in my notes. We'll get to this. So
We're
and
never
the
going to
brief
get to your
history
notes.
now that we've explained the curse to a degree, the brief history of this, it started in the 90s. Basically, with and there was a video game pre-existing before this, but Super Mario Brothers, the movie, was the first theatrically released video game film
1993.
in 1993.
I wasn't
And
even 1 year old.
the story of it is that the studio acquired the rights to the Mario Brothers, and Bob Hoskins' kid said to him, "Dad, I love Super Mario Brothers." So Bob Hoskins took the job without reading the script or anything like that.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo was up and coming, trying his best just to get as many interesting roles as he could, and Dennis Hopper did not give a fuck about this film, and he didn't really give a fuck about many films in that part of his career.
It's a
But
paycheck.
the whole film, Super Mario Brothers, it wasn't even meant to be a Mario film. It was meant to be a different kind of, and that's why if you haven't seen the Mario Brothers film, Mario Brothers is obviously set in the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's very colorful, and it's got little green dinosaurs, and everything's
It's cute and it's fun.
cute and round, and Mario.
I mean, at this
and
point,
Yoshi.
if you don't know what Mario is, you know.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? The Mario Brothers movie from '93 though is this weird dystopian Blade Runner-esque, like real velocity. Like
Grim,
Yoshi's a
dark.
velociraptor.
Yeah, like the what I forgot their names.
Goombas.
Yeah, the Goombas are like these weird guys in big leather suits and tiny little heads and shit. And you're just like, what nightmare is this?
Yeah, it's Bowser is not a giant dinosaur. He is Dennis Hopper.
He's Dennis Hopper. I mean,
So-
to be fair, when I was a wee boy and I was jumping over trying to like save the princess and take out, I was just like, to me, this screams Dennis Hopper to me. I see Dennis Hopper in those eyes.
But like, yeah, it wasn't meant to be a Mario Brothers film. It was meant to be this other film that was they made the sets and everything for
Yeah.
it, and then whoever the studio was like, yeah, you know what, Bosh, stick on Mario Brothers to that, and they were like,
Stick a Mario Brothers to
we
that.
haven't done it. This isn't Mario Brothers, and they were like, yeah, it is now. Deal with it. So they did, and then they just had to make it work, and it's terrible. It's a weird film, and actually, wait, I'm going to retract that. It's not terrible.
I mean, it is. You don't need to retract anything.
No,
It's
no.
terrible.
So here's the thing. It is because it's meant to be Super Mario Brothers, but as a film, it's an interesting piece. I wouldn't say it's a good piece, but it's interesting.
I mean, it's certainly interesting, like, to go back and just watch it and just be like, what the fuck were these people on
Yeah.
when this film was getting made? Because holy crap.
It's also where we found out that Mario and Luigi's, who are brothers, last name is Mario.
Mario and Luigi Mario.
Yeah, Mario and Luigi Mario, and that's official.
That's
So after they put it in the film, Nintendo were like, yep, I guess it's real.
I mean, the fucking history and lore of Mario and what Nintendo says is...
People get really worked up about it. People get really worked up about what's official Mario canon.
I mean, I don't care.
Mario and Luigi are twin brothers.
They're not.
Yeah, they are.
No.
Mario's the older one, though. He was born like a second earlier.
I mean, that's like saying Arnold Schwarzenegger...
Because every twin, no twins come out at the same time.
Yeah, but they're twins in the same way that Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito are twins and twins. They ain't twins.
Yeah, they're twins.
And then they were going to do triplets with Eddie Murphy. And I'm like, oh, please make that movie. And then they never did.
That's a shame. That would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been amazing.
I really felt bad for Danny DeVito watching Twins in a retro. As a kid, I was like, Arnold Schwarzenegger's got a funny accent. And then watching it as a grown up, I watched that and I was like, oh, man, imagine being given the script of that as Danny DeVito. And it's like, so at this point, the doctor's going to explain why you're a piece of shit human. And that's why you're short and fat and balding. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is an Adonis and he's the good parts of all the humanity. And you're crap. So we really want you to lean into that. How depressing would that be to be Danny DeVito?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just used to it at this point.
You don't want to be used to it.
I know you don't want to be, but I mean, if you're Danny DeVito, you just fucking I'm Danny DeVito. I've got a ton of
feel
money. He's probably got a big bank account, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, I mean, you're right. I feel like Danny DeVito's actual life is mirrored in his Always Sunny appearances. Because at the beginning of his Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Danny DeVito is like a businessman who's got his shit together, his hair's well kept, he's wearing suits. And then in season 5 or 6, there's literally an episode called Frank Gives Up. And then after that, he turns into I assume...
Hobgoblin monster.
Hobgoblin monster. A gremlin that lives under my bed. Yeah, he's God love Danny DeVito. He's very good though. Good actor. So,
not in Super Mario Bros.
He's not Mario Brothers. That was Bob Hoskins. God rest in peace him.
Rest in peace,
so
Bob Hoskins.
That was the first film, and it was a disaster basically. And then since then, no film really has been able to kind of shake this.
Because every time there is a new video game movie coming out, the first article that goes up on any website is this the one to break the curse? So far, none yet.
Because
everyone's like, oh, Tomb Raider comes close. I'm like, Tomb Raider doesn't come close at all. Because it's just, you just go play the video game.
Yeah, that was a bizarre one. But wait, because we'll get to it. Because we're gonna take a trip through the years.
I mean, there is one video game movie that, while it's not good, like from a top-down standpoint, and doesn't really make sense in the context of the game. For me, Street Fighter with Jean-Claude Van Damme is an absolute treat.
I agree.
I love that movie.
In the same sense that Super Mario Brothers is a treat for all of its flaws. Street Fighter is the same. It's bizarre. And they took Street Fighter, and if you don't know Street Fighter, the fighting game, which has gone back decades now, the film, Street Fighter the game, is about the main characters are Ryu and Ken. And Street Fighter the movie, neither of those two people appear in it. If I remember correctly.
I mean, I can't believe that. This always just boggles my mind, but Kylie Minogue's in that film as like a main character. I was like,
it's bizarre.
It's bizarre. But the best
peak 90s movies.
The best thing from Street Fighter, and no, it's not the muscles from Brussels, even though he is damn good and can kick anything.
Playing Guile.
It's Raul Julia.
Holy shit. Who gives the performance of a lifetime in that film.
His last ever performance before he passed away.
And that's why.
Raul Julia. Yeah, because he was just like, he gave it his all.
I don't give a fuck anymore.
Oh my God, he just chews up the scenery and it's joyous. And anytime he's on screen, you're just like, oh, I love him.
He is brilliant in it. And it's
They
again,
could have done a whole cinematic universe of just Raul Julia's character from Street Fighter, but just put him in different movies. He just shows up in Shawshank Redemption as the character from Street Fighter. Just floating in like, I am God. Just like, oh.
M. Bison. Here's a fun fact this video games is my forte. So for anyone that doesn't know, I am a huge gamer. So this whole episode is going to be littered with interesting facts that I know about video games. Street Fighter.
I used to write about video games. That's a fun
do you know why he's called M. Bison in Street Fighter?
I do not.
So there's another fighter called Balrog, who is
a Lord of the Rings dummy.
But in
Got
Street
'em,
Fighter,
loser.
Balrog is this gigantic, muscular boxing character
Oh, it's
Who-
based upon me.
who looks like Mike Tyson, and he was called M. Bison. And then I think Mike Tyson's people were like, "Yo, Street Fighter,
That ain't happening.
you that's a bit." And then Street Fighter were like, "No, he's not M. Bison. His name's Balrog. That guy's M. Bison." And they were like, "I mean,
Gotta love
okay, I
Capcom.
guess."
Capcom are just like,
Yeah, Capcom just like, nope, switcheroo. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, so they're two notoriously bad video game films.
yeah, because those were the ones in the 90s. Because all the other ones, like the Mortal Kombat one was,
Mortal Kombat wasn't great, but at least it did what it was meant to be doing properly, which is badass fight scenes with a bunch of gore.
sure.
I mean, what's the story to Mortal Kombat? The
Oh,
Ultimate
I
Tournament.
couldn't even begin.
It's madness. The actual game story is mental, but in the early
pretty
days,
much
it was
Mortal
just-
Kombat is just finishers. That's
Yeah.
that's all people care.
and
about.
that's the first film kind of did it well. I mean, it's not a great film, but it's
No.
it's action
Then
gore.
outside of that, the 90s had nothing else of note.
So that was the 90s. So then in the noughties, after these kind of misfires, film companies started being like, right, if we're gonna make a video game company, we should probably try and stick to the source material
Somewhat.
to some degree,
To
because
appease the fans.
it's almost like everyone hates it when we bring out a film that has nothing to do with the games that we're basing them on.
Yeah.
So we had a couple in here which actually hold together to a degree.
Nope.
I think they do.
Nope.
Tomb Raider, Angelina Jolie's. That was 3 movies. Two movies? Cradle of Life and the first
Well,
one.
the first one was Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and the second was Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, with Gerard Butler.
Yeah, first one had Daniel Craig.
That's true, then.
Yeah. So
Also,
like,
the guy who is in. Oh, do you watch Game of Thrones?
yeah.
The Cersei's like friend-zoned bitch. He plays like the main bad guy.
Who's
Like, remember the guy who
brother?
got the grayscale stuff in like the last season?
Oh, Jorah.
yeah, he
Jorah.
plays the bad guy in that.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
So he does.
But he just looks really young and vibrant,
And just glowing.
just glowing. Like Cersei would have.
No, not
been-
Cersei. Daenerys.
Oh yeah, it's Daenerys, isn't it?
That's why I didn't know who you were talking
I
about.
don't give a.
Cersei doesn't have any. She's
She's got the mountain, and just think what
Cersei.
her and the mountain get up to.
What's gonna happen in season 8 of Game of Thrones?
She gonna get plowed by a mountain.
I mean, I was more talking about the deep political intrigue that's happening.
Oh, I mean that showed abandoned deep political intrigue in the last season, so I don't know why there'd be any in this one.
It was good. I like
Ed
it.
Sheeran showed up.
Jorah Mormont is played by Ian Glenn.
He's. I was want to see it. Oh, he's Scottish.
Oh, is he? There you go. Scottish.
There you go.
So, but we had Angelina Jolie, which
Yeah.
at the very least,
Fighting a robot. I always remember being like, why is there a robot?
I like that.
Also, her dad was played by her actual real life dad,
Really?
John Voight,
That's cool.
and they don't get on very well
That's really cool.
because they had no scenes together in the film.
But like,
I mean-
at least it was trying to do what Tomb Raider did, which is
Sexualize a
sexualized woman
in the jungle
exploring ruins
with
and stuff, right?
massive
Intellect
wallet.
and a massive wallet.
Yeah.
But it tried its best.
Yeah.
And then we also had Resident Evil.
Oh
Which-
boy, did we!
Right, but here's the thing: Resident Evil started with the best intentions, I think.
I mean, yeah, the
first
first one,
Resident
the first
Evil-
one, yeah,
Set in the house, kind of off topic in a few places, but at least it was like a military team goes into the house, follows the plot of the game, and then
and
they've got to escape from the.
what's her name?
Mia Jovovich.
Mia Jokovic has the acting range of the tank controls from the first game, so that's really good.
That's very good.
So
But like
that's a wee video game joke for you, I guess.
tank controls. Ha ha ha. So yeah, so like it again was trying its
I
best.
thought that was
to
a
at
better
least-
joke than you gave it credit for.
It was all right.
Okay. I'll just go back to just randomly saying penis every so often and you giggle from that. See? There you go.
But it was trying its best. So Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, they both were trying.
They had good intentions, but the
But-
execution wasn't really there.
Yeah,
And-
and this is I'm talking from a place of nostalgia as well. Like I watched these films growing up; they were my childhood
As
films.
did I, yeah.
And you're 100% right. On a rewatch now, they do not hold up
They're
anywhere
like
near
a-
as well as I thought
like
they would.
Like a bad binge watch, have a couple of beers, laugh at them with friends.
Yeah, and
kind of
like
thing.
turn your brain off, and you can enjoy what's happening. But there's nothing to them.
I mean, there's a point in Lara Croft Tomb Raider where she's in a jeep and they just push the jeep out of the back of the plane and then it parachutes into the jungle and then she just destroys the jungle with the jeep, gets to where she needs to be, and I'm just like, what was the point in any of that scene? Why did this mass destruction of a jungle? This isn't the right message to send to kids.
Fast and Furious pulled that same stunt, didn't they?
Yeah, they did that in 7.
Who knows? Fast and Furious ad infinitum. It was that one.
The one where Vin Diesel drinks a Corona and says family.
So they're fine. And then the one of the 90s, there was also Doom.
Yes, there was. With Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Carl Urban.
And we touched on this. We talked about this off mic. I, for all of its misgivings, actually really enjoy Doom, the film. Which I know I shouldn't. I know it's not great. But I stick it on and I'm like, yep, this is enjoyable
It's
nonsense.
not good, but again, it's when you have a couple of beers, sit around pals, laugh at it for how silly it is. And they had the balls to do a first-person segment. Where Carl Urban looks in the mirror.
That first-person segment is really
That
good.
was Hardcore Henry before Hardcore Henry.
Exactly. That's a good sequence in that film. Though.
Is it though?
I think it is. I think it's fun. It calls back to the video game. It's like it does its best.
There's also that moment where Dwayne The Rock Johnson tries to convincingly say "big motherfucking gun," but Dwayne The Rock Johnson can't say anything convincingly as an actor, so it's just really awkward.
It's a young Dwayne The Rock Johnson. When was
Also,
that? That was Doom was 2005. So was that
after the Scorpion King?
It was one of his first roles, though, right?
Yeah, so like Scorpion King was the big one, and then after that he kind of did some more action stuff, and then he just fell into like weird kids movies and comedies. He didn't fall into kids.
Tooth Fairy? Was that Vin Diesel or was that Rock?
That was The Rock.
Oh, Pacifier was Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
That was why were they both doing weird kid films at the same time? Are they the same human?
No, definitely not.
Two sides of the same coin.
One is definitely.
Are they like the Parent Trap? Hey,
I can't wait to see where we're going to go.
The
with
Rock and Vin Diesel separated at birth, and they both grew up to be muscular.
Have you seen images of The Rock and Vin Diesel currently? The Rock looks like a fucking machine,
beefcake,
and Vin Diesel looks like a sausage that's split out of its skin.
Hey, Vin Diesel's rocking the dad bod. He's pulling it back.
Okay,
look,
those are two bald men.
Look, wait, no,
those are very bald men.
Look at that. You can see what I'm talking about.
No.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Absolutely
Dwayne
not.
The Rock and Vin Diesel. Oh.
Currently, Audio Boy has side-to-side images of Vin Diesel and Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
If you took out Dwayne's goatee,
okay, here's what it's like: as if they were like,
mate.
No, imagine the Captain. I'm going to go somewhere with this. The Captain America movie where Chris Evans comes out of that tube and he just looks like this fucking cut Adonis of a human being. And they open the other tube, and that one's melted in the tube a wee bit, and it's just kind of like, help me, I am not an animal. Like, that's what...
Kill me,
That's what
please.
the side-to-side looks like of like Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Chris Evans, and Vin Diesel's the one that melted a wee bit in the tube. Maybe then they look similar.
It's a testament to Marvel, like to Disney's CGI work, that they've made Chris Evans look jacked in every film since, because he's obviously... I mean, like you see in the first Avenger, he's a weedly little man.
Yeah.
He's tiny as well. So it's really good that they've been like...
Fucking, you're just...
I'm just on one today.
What?
I'm just on one. I mean, that's
the pot noodle you had. It's fucking sent you looping. You had a pot noodle, you played some Apex Legends, came second.
Good. Feeling really good. Feeling excellent. Apex Legends is a game, by the way.
I mean, I only watched you play it. I didn't get to play it.
But you were like...
You came over to my flat, sat on my couch, played it on my PlayStation, and I just did nothing.
I mean, if you hadn't asked me around to do the podcast, I'd be at home doing the exact same thing. So.
I'd probably be in bed right now.
Yeah. And there it is. Neither of us want to be.
I've got to work tonight.
So, in the noughties, though, so we've talked a little bit about Tomb Raider, Resi, and Doom. Max Payne and Hitman as well, which were both...
Silent Hill, I think, is a solid movie.
So this is what I was about to say. Max Payne and Hitman are also in that. But Silent Hill came out, and because it was doing the horror element, and it leaned... It's the only one that's really leaned... Doom's meant to be a horror game. Resident Evil's meant to be a horror game, but they both lent in the film genre into action heavily. Silent Hill was just like, we're doing a horror film.
Yeah.
We're going to make this creepy and terrifying and...
Because if my memory serves me correctly, the director of Silent Hill was a massive fan of the games and really wanted to try and do it justice film, and I think he did a pretty decent job.
Yeah.
It looks the part. It's fucking creepy.
Yeah. I mean,
they changed up some of the story elements, obviously, but
which they kind of had to, because like if you pad out a 20-hour game with ridiculous side quests and shit, then that doesn't track. Track well in.
It's
a
like
movie.
the Alien Isolation game, where it turned a 2-hour like psychological thriller into a 20-hour slog. Where you're just like, fuck this. This is too long.
Well, it's also like Resident. In the flip side of Resident Evil, if they made a Resident Evil movie which was exactly like the original games, it would be hours of the characters going from a fireplace to pick up a crest, to put the crest into the bottom of a typewriter, to then turn the typewriter around, which opens a door in the bathroom, which you go through, and that takes you into the basement where you find a pipe tire, like a, you know what I mean? Like
And then between all of that, you have
which
some
then
really,
connects to 3 other tire irons.
just some really solid gun control that just holds up and is so much fun.
But yeah, Silent Hill almost did it. Silent
Yeah.
Hill almost had this. It almost broke the mold,
Came close, yeah.
but didn't.
But you know what definitely never broke the mold and is just straight garbage from a straight garbage human being? The Far Cry movie by Uwe Boll. That's
I never even saw. I didn't even know this was out until you talked about it.
It's I don't know what that movie is. It's not Far Cry, but then what is Far Cry if you were to make a movie from it? It's just guy in jungle shooting a gun. So
It's also Far Cry as a game has evolved from Far Cry 1, which nobody's even really heard of,
yeah.
and then there was Far Cry Primal.
Well, no, it's Far Cry 2, which was like
It was 2 before Primal.
Primal came out like 2 years ago. So
No,
Far Cry 2,
Primal-
Far Cry 3,
No,
Far
no, no,
Cry
there was
4,
Far Cry-
Primal.
No, Primal. No, I know what you're talking about. There was an original Far Cry Primal, which was not the one which is set in the past. It's basically Far Cry 2, but you've got beast powers.
Oh yeah, I remember the.
Maybe it's not called Primal.
I don't think it's called Primal.
Far Cry's something.
Oh, Blood Dragon.
Blood Dragon was good.
Brilliant. But yeah, Uwe Boll and Far Cry, just straight garbage. Everything involved. Just,
So what is it though? Does it go off the games, or does it?
it's kind of different. It's just like bad guy in jungle, good guy, go shoot him.
Far Cry Instincts is all I was
There you
thinking
go.
of. So yeah, and just more.
And then
more video
Uwe
game
Boll
shit.
also did like what was a zombie one he did? He did a zombie. I'm sure he did a zombie one as well. Dead or Alive, I think he did as well. I think he did Dead or Alive.
Great.
I don't know. But yeah, Uwe Boll's done 2, and they're both just like, yeah,
Not great.
yeah, that's straight garbage.
So then, in this ongoing saga, people keep trying to churn out video game films, and we're almost.
Jake Gyllenhaal's Prince of Persia.
Well, but here's the thing. So we were almost getting there. The noughties pick it up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's Prince of Persia, which and there's an argument, there's a conversation to be had here because, like we've mentioned previously, just there actually, video games don't work as a movie.
Nope.
Because a game is made to be played for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours. So it's a lot of repetition and a lot of doing the same thing, or like inane seeming fetch quests and all this kind of stuff, which pad out the game.
Here.
Yeah, and also because they're so long, you can tell a much slower story or keep up, and you can have a really intense.
A perfect example of like last year's God of War game, which was just one of the greatest games to ever grace consoles.
Yeah.
Is like that game's over 20 hours.
Yeah,
and that's a story. It's like you commit to that story, and it's so deep and so rich. On top of all of the gamey stuff,
yeah.
But if you take that story and you try bring it down to 2 hours, you're just going to lose so much of like.
It's like converting a book into a film.
Yeah.
Effectively, it's the same process.
It often fails.
Yeah, because you can't get that same.
You have
nuance,
to strip out 90% of it, and
as well as losing. You're also losing, and with a book, you're losing the protagonist narration.
Yeah,
and in a video game, you're losing that element of I did that
interactivity.
Because God of War's story, if you took all the cutscenes out, God of War story is probably what 5 hours, 4 hours worth of.
I don't know. Some of those cutscenes are lengthy.
Totally, but the other 16 hours that you play the game for is you
like
doing shit.
Like fighting and going around boats, or like looking for collectibles, or like doing side missions, etc. I mean,
you can't portray that all on film.
The interesting back and forth for video games and movies, I think, where the intersection of the two has come from the Uncharted series, which is those games are close to being like movies.
Yeah,
they're like Indiana Jones movies or something like that. But everyone's like, oh, we should have an Uncharted movie. And like Mark Wahlberg was attached at one point to star as Nathan Drake. I think Tom Holland's attached currently to play Nathan Drake. And I'm like,
really?
Yeah, I know. They want to do a young Nathan Drake because then they can pad them out for as long as possible. But it's like the whole point of Uncharted is it's an interactive movie where all those Indiana Jones movies, you watch the kid, all those action movies, you get to do that now. You get to jump onto the train, you get to bring down a helicopter. So then it doesn't make sense to then go backwards with it take away that interactivity and that fun and that the joy of it, and instead put you in a seat and just have you sit and watch it. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
That's why video game movies have never made sense to me. If it's like, you're having all this fun playing this game, now we're going to take the controller off you, and it's like sitting there watching your older brother or whatever play the game, and you just have to sit there and you don't get to play. It's like, that doesn't make sense to put that in the cinema.
It's a strange one, and this is probably where the whole conversation will come to a head. It's like, why do they keep making these films that clearly don't do well? So just very quickly. So in 2010 and onwards, so 2010 up to kind of today, there was the real failures of the year were Tekken movie, Prince of Persia, which was a hot shit, Need for Speed, which was literally a Fast and Furious film.
That was just
but they
so
just
boring.
put Need for Speed on. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, let's carbon copy that film and we'll just slap Need for Speed on. It's like, what? How do you make a film from a game which is racing cars? Like, why add a story to that? It's bizarre.
I mean, even the games have tried to add stories to it, and I'm just like, wait, no, just race
Do
the
there
car.
is- Assassin's Creed,
Oh.
which is where we kind of started here. Michael Fassbender, like, awful film, got completely panned. The few ones that are, and this is, if you go by Rotten Tomatoes, the few that are slowly breaking the mold. Finally, Warcraft, which I think critically did terrible, but the reason I wanted to save it and wanted to talk about it is because Warcraft did something which I think if you're going to make a video game film, this is how they should do it. And Final Fantasy did this in the past as well. Actually, take your film, or take your game.
Yep.
Ignore everything that happened in the games that people have played and take the universe and make a film in the universe. And I think that's the only way these things are going to work, because in the case of Tomb Raider, you're right. You said earlier in the episode,
Just
Tomb
copies and
Raider.
paste the game.
You watch the Tomb Raider film. If you've played Tomb Raider the game, it's all the cutscenes.
Yeah, just general
it.
like action set pieces from that game are just taken out and put into the movie, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why would I want
Film live
to
action.
sit and watch this when I could go home right now, load up my PS4, and just
And play
it?
And you get to be in control, and it's interesting. It's bizarre. It's such a weird, like, oh, we just doubled down. Tomb Raider the game did well, so we'll just show that to people that wouldn't play the game. And it's like, what? Like,
Yeah, because the people that didn't play the game probably don't care. So why would they then watch a movie of it?
yeah, it's bizarre. So it's too close, and it's that familiarity that makes it pointless. So if they did Tomb Raider the movie, and it was like, yep, this is the same character from the games, but it's like her downtime. You know, it's like a mini adventure.
Tomb Raider is just inspired by things like Indiana Jones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, all you have to do is take that character, write a good kind of Indiana Jones style adventure plot, and just put her in it and done. But to just rip her straight out of the game and put it on the big screen, I'm just like, oh, who's this for? Who cares?
Yeah.
Who wants this?
Totally. I mean, I went to see it, so
I saw it and I was just like, well, this is.
can't argue. We took the bait.
I mean, I was wanted to have something to review that week on ramblingsofaScotsman.com, so I just went there and I just watched that movie, and then I wrote a
These
review.
plugs are getting worse and worse.
I know.
You're just shoehorning them in at this point. You're just like, Matt.
I mean,
there
I
we
wrote a
go.
review for it. You can read it on ramblingsofaScotsman.com. It's a decent review.
Oh, sorry, I missed it. What was the name of that website again, Gavin?
RamblingsofaScotsman.com.
Tit.
Also, the movie wastes Walton Goggins. So many movies keep wasting Walton Goggins, and I'm like, stop wasting Walton Goggins.
He's
Man's-
an interesting looking man, isn't he?
And I mean, that
Is it the teeth or is it the eyes? I can
I
never
think it's
remember.
the forehead.
There's something with him that I'm always like,
Audio Boy's now going to bring up an image of Walton Goggins.
he's just got something going. It's the teeth and the face. It's just the face. It's the whole face.
He's a handsome man, though.
Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Is he?
I think he is. I mean, he should play the Joker, I feel.
I mean, I'll give
With
you
an image
that.
like that, he should play the Joker.
I will
But
give
I'm really
you that.
excited for Joaquin Phoenix to play the Joker. I think he's going to nail it. But it's like Walton Goggins was in that. Last year he was in Tomb Raider and he was in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And in both those films, he is just generic bad guy who wants something. And I'm just like...
Because he looks like a generic bad guy that wants something.
Yeah, but he could be like a Bond villain, I feel.
Yeah,
he could be
he could
sinister Bond villain.
He could be a Bond villain in. He could be a Bond villain in a Pierce Brosnan Bond film.
Don't just insult
Yeah,
Walton
you agree?
Goggins
You
like
agree,
that.
Audio Boy? See, that's what I'm saying.
Why are we coming at Walton Goggins? I like Walton Goggins.
Because he looks like a comic book character. He looks
Oh, I mean, there he's dressed like a woman. He's an attractive-looking
in
woman.
Sons of Anarchy,
I'm
season
having
7.
confused feelings.
So yeah, where were we? Talking about
Walton Goggins from Tomb Raider.
What? Yes.
There's an image of Walton Goggins in Tomb Raider. being wasted.
So Warcraft, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because Warcraft did what other ones don't do, and it told a piece of the history that if I remember, the players don't get to do. So it's like all they effectively gave you is a 2-hour-long cutscene.
Yeah, pretty much that's what that film felt
And
like.
that's what you want, though.
But it was a 2-hour-long jumbled mess of a cutscene where
and then that's
large
the problem.
portions were cut out of it, and the action wasn't very interesting, and I just didn't care.
Yeah, and then that's the problem. Like that's where it all kind of falls apart. Like people just never quite keep it together. It's like no video game film can keep a coherent
Narrative.
Yeah,
I just don't understand who the movies are for, and who are the people like driving these movies to get made. Like, because the Warcraft movie was in development for so long,
absolutely ages.
and Duncan Jones fucking almost killed himself trying to get that movie out because obviously the studio just beat him into submission. But I'm just like, Warcraft fans don't give a shit about this movie because they want to go play World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
People who don't play World of Warcraft really don't give a shit about a Warcraft movie.
Yeah.
And the people making it, I doubt they cared about Warcraft. They just saw the numbers of how many people play the game and they thought, oh well, all those 9 million
They'll
people,
come watch
they'll
the
come
film.
watch them. It's like, no, because they're at home playing World of Warcraft. They're not coming out to the cinema to watch your interpretation of Warcraft
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like
with the dude from Vikings.
it's yeah. You actually you've hit the nail on the head. It's like, who are these films for? Like, I'm a huge gamer, and
Yeah.
and I can't. I'm like, every time one of these films comes out, I go and see it. And I'm like, why am I here?
Because it's like the two that keep circling, like possibly going to be made. It's like the Uncharted movie and the Last of Us movie, and I'm just like, I don't want either of them. I don't
Last of Us
care.
doesn't even need a film. Last of Us
Last of
literally
Us-
doesn't need a film.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, Maisie Williams is going to play Ellie and Sam Raimi might direct, but that was a long.
But if you're,
that was 2 or 3 years
what I
ago.
don't understand is that in that story, if they're going to make a Last of Us film, the actors,
Troy Baker,
and Ashley Johnson,
Yeah,
they have been face mapped into the game anyway.
yeah.
Get them to do just get them into
Yeah,
acting
'cause it's
film.
like
if
Ashley
you're going to do it, get
Ashley
the
Johnson's
actual...
already. She's an actress that's on TV and in movies, and Troy Baker, pardon me, has been in some movies and TV, but now is like one of the most successful voice
Voice
actors,
actors, yeah.
or just voice actors in general. But it's like, to a movie studio, they're not marketable. Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, that's a name you can slap on the front, and Sam Raimi's a name you can slap on the front, and you can just be like,
It's just mental. I just don't get it.
but like The Last of Us is already like it's a 14-hour. It's again like what Naughty Dog do so great. It's a 14-hour cross of movie and game.
Yeah.
It's like you've got a solid, really engaging, fun gameplay, and then you've also got the narrative that feels like a drawn out, really engaging movie. So I'm like,
Yeah, man.
why do we need
Why do we need
just
a film
a
of
movie
that?
of this?
Yeah.
We've already got a movie/game of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and any time they're like, oh, there's the script for The Last of Us is being completed. And I'm like, I know, it was completed many years ago when the game
They've
came
done
out.
it. Yeah,
Because that's when the
totally.
script was finished. Like,
Because like the four season arc that they run through in Last of Us, how's that going to translate well into the film?
I know,
Like,
it's
it's
just like-
madness without chopping huge
plus
chunks
some of
out.
the stuff that, like, some of the really dark shit they go into The Last of Us, like, they're not going to
Yeah.
put that in the movie. They're going to make it a 12A and they're going to have a bunch of gunfights and zombies.
Yeah, it's gonna be crap. So yeah, on this though, so after the curse of the video game, so the highest ranking video game film, and I just want audio boy, could you just scroll very quickly? I just want to double check this before I say it. The highest ranking video game film out today, isn't it? Is Rampage, which came out last year.
Dwayne The Rock
Is
Johnson
another Dwayne The Rock
monkey
Johnson.
movie.
It has 53% according to Rotten Tomatoes.
That doesn't mean anything, though, because Rotten Tomatoes is a shithole website and none of the percentages mean anything.
Well, they do.
Nah, you know.
They do enough. So
They do enough.
it's the highest ranking video game film. And what's interesting about it is Rampage, if you've never played the game, was an arcade machine back in the 90s, I want to say, actually.
I mean, I feel I should also drop in. It's also the highest grossing video game movie.
Is it the highest
with
grossing as
over
well?
400
So-
million.
I believe it was an arcade machine, which the story in the arcade machine is you play the monsters and you have to trash a town,
Yeah.
right? That's it. 1986.
It's kind of like Wreck-It Ralph.
A little bit, yeah. It's pretty much. You destroy the town, and then the more things you destroy, the better it goes. The higher the points go. And then they've had various video games come out over the years, and it's kind of got a little piece of its own little niche piece of history
Yeah.
in video game culture. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to make a film of that in 2018. The last time a game came out was like 2009, I think. So 9 years after the last game came out. And obviously the plot of the games is you are the monsters you smash out. And then they were like, yeah, we're going to get Dwayne The Rock Johnson and he's going to stop the monsters from smashing shit up.
It's
And
like
it's
a grenade launcher or something.
yeah, and it's kind of like, why though? Like, why call this Rampage? Why not just call it anything else? Why link it to the video game? Because if you call it anything else, then people's expectations aren't going to be up. And then what you've got is a enjoyable B movie with The Rock and a giant monkey, wolf, and alligator tearing up a town. Like,
Yeah, I just remember seeing the trailer for it and just being like, what the actual fuck
It's
is
bizarre.
this?
I say bizarre a lot. It's mental though. It's proper weird that this is the highest ranking video game that almost broke the curse, but really hasn't because it's still not phenomenal.
I mean, I've not seen the movie, but I can't imagine it's good.
It's fine. It's a B movie. It's a action B movie.
It's a Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie.
Pretty much. Dwayne The Rock Johnson's smashing it. Like
Is he?
we're saying this, no, but he's smashing it as our B movie action star. This sounds disparaging how we're talking about him. I just want to make clear, I am a huge advocate for Dwayne The Rock Johnson being the cheesy B movie star that we
He
need
is
nowadays.
this generation's Schwarzenegger or Stallone or
Totally.
Bruce Willis.
I could go on about Skyscraper again if you want me to.
God, that fucking... I haven't watched it, and I don't...
Can we do it next week? Can we please watch that film and then talk about it? And talk about action films. We'll watch it and we'll talk about action films afterwards. It can be our action episode.
Sure, we'll just have to find the day to do it.
We'll do it. We'll figure it out sometime next week.
I mean, our schedules are sometimes don't always line up.
It's going to line up. We'll figure it out. So there we go. See, I'm typing it on my...
I mean, expect that episode
Computer.
in like 3 to 4 weeks
Probably.
because of how these work.
So yeah, so it's odd. Very quickly coming up, and then we'll just have a very quick chat about where video games seem to work better. Upcoming films in the video game genre. We've got the Detective Pikachu film,
Which come out May 10th, 2019.
which looks bizarre, but
I mean, it looks kind of fun though.
bringing Pokemon to the live action world.
Yeah, it
which
was
is
interesting when I first watched that trailer. I'm just like, oh, they're doing like live action actors with Pokemon, and it doesn't look terrifying. It doesn't look like Nightmare Fuel.
I think it looks very
I
terrifying.
mean, the
but
Pikachu looks cute, and that's all that matters, really.
it's it's making me question. Well, it gave me a lot of like long thoughts about Pokemon's textures, which I never thought I'd actually have to consider. Like you know, the fact they're animals, so obviously they're furry. Because in
Yeah.
the cartoons and the games, they look so smooth and
Yeah.
and plasticky.
But in this, Pikachu just has a whole lot of fur.
yeah, but
And
I'm looking forward.
Did you
to
see
it.
that image of behind the scenes of they mapped Ryan Reynolds' face for Pikachu? And I'm just like, why? Just have him do the voice.
Did they really?
Yeah, there's like an image of him. He's got a
What?
bunch of dots on his face. He's got one of those cameras looking at it, and he like voices it while like emoting. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to see any of that in that film. I'm just going to hear Ryan Reynolds' voice and think of Deadpool.
So you got that coming up. Sonic the Hedgehog, which I know we've ripped into previously,
Good.
but
God, the marketing for that
I
film
cannot wait.
is terrifying. Why would you choose to have the angle of your poster from Sonic's crotch?
It's gonna be
Why?
great. The more I think about Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, the more I'm getting excited for it. The more
Are
I'm
you?
like, genuinely, the more I'm like, I'm buzzing for this.
Who's voicing?
Trash
I want to know
fire.
who's voicing.
Ooh,
Sonic the
that is a
Hedgehog.
good question.
Because I'm assuming it's not the people.
It's Jim Carrey who's voicing Dr. Robotnik
Yeah.
slash
and
Eggman.
Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz,
God,
from
that-
Parks and Rec. What's his name? John Ralphio. Hey everyone. My excited exclamation of John Ralphio broke
It was
broke the laptop.
Sonic was just too fast for us, and the laptop gave up.
So we unfortunately lost the best 10 minutes of
Oh my
podcast
God,
that's ever
like,
been
I
recorded.
cried at one point.
in
It
the
was
history,
so,
man.
It was overwhelming.
And unfortunately, as has been done in many comedies, you will never get to hear that 10 minutes.
No.
It's now lost to the ethos. Philip exploded in joy, so that's a mess we're going to have to clean up. Gavin's weeping, or was weeping.
Just like when I make love to a woman, I cry afterwards. So I cried.
It was that powerful. So
It was that powerful.
apologies, guys. We're just gonna wrap, gonna wrap up as best we can now. With we'll try and recap the highlights of it. But yeah, just so you know, it's good.
There was a wee technical glitch.
Technical glitch. But yeah, so after the Sonic the Hedgehog, John Ralphio is doing the voice. And and Jim Carrey doing Robotnik. We also have the Monster Hunter film, which is kind of going through the motions at the
Which I
moment.
don't think is ever going to happen.
It's almost done though, isn't it?
Is it done?
It's filming. It's if not filmed. It's like almost.
I thought it was in limbo.
No, I think it's coming out. I think they've done like I think that's like on its way, and it's same thing though. Monster Hunter fans are like wet because it's
Wet. They're just gone really Scottish. What is that?
What is going on?
Because your accent is.
I can't do Scottish.
Nope.
Scottish accent is the hardest accent. I mean, I can't do many accents, but I feel like
It's the
Scottish
accent that makes me hard. Oh wait, that's not your thing. Never mind.
Yeah, so like the Monster Hunter plot, Monster Hunter the game is just people going out and
Killing monsters.
killing monsters, fantasy world, magic, and big swords
Getting
and
loot.
big weapons, getting loot. And the film is Mia Jovovich and a bunch of other people.
Oh, God, it's her.
Yep, and they are in an army group, and they get transported to Monster Hunter World. So they've got all their like.
Is it the same director?
guns.
Is it her husband director that does the Resident Evil?
I honestly don't know. Potentially, but the game fans are like, "What? Why are you doing this? That's not the game." And then everyone else is kind of like,
What is this?
what's Monster Hunter? Why is that coming out?" So you're right, same thing. So the final thing that we wanted to talk about is the video game curse continues to exist.
Yes.
It's no film that is set or based on a video game has come even close to breaking it.
And maybe Pokemon, the Pikachu, maybe that'll be the one to break it. 'Cause the trailer didn't look terrible, but I don't.
We'll see. I'm hopeful, but it's still, I doubt it. And even here's the thing, even outside that, that's still like, it's still not like a proper video game film because
it's not like
a
Ash,
spin-off,
like
going
off, and it's
or
like,
even it's like it's a spin-off of the main series.
Yeah.
There is a game, but the game's a spin-off, and it's more narrative driven anyway, rather than game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than the gameplay of Pokemon,
of catching little animals in a ball and imprisoning them.
and making them fight. But what does do well, surprisingly, what does really well, are games that are video game esque.
Movies that
movies
that are video games esque.
They might follow the pattern of video games, or they might be about video games, but not about a
Or they
specific
might kind of take the
video game.
structural elements of certain video games.
And there's a couple of these. So, Tron, probably the earliest one in that we can talk about,
Yeah.
which is about the video game world, but
Guy gets pulled into a video game.
yeah, but really, it's like a sci-fi film about the hierarchy of.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
It's a weird film. to
Really,
try
it
and
was
explain.
like a technical marvel at the time, and now it's just kind of like a antiquated but beloved kind of
And
film.
it had a semi-decent sequel.
Jeff Bridges. Everyone loves
Jeff
Jeff
Bridges,
The sequel, I didn't mind the sequel. People were like shitting all over it. I thought it was all right.
Olivia Wilde.
The CGI young Jeff Bridges doesn't hold up now,
That
but
just, like I remember at the time I saw that in cinema and I was like, "Whoa, that's incredible!" I watched Tron Legacy 6 months ago and I was like, "Oh my
yeah.
god, that young
But
Jeff Bridges
that
looks
Daft Punk's
terrible."
soundtrack.
Oof.
We both went for an oof there.
It's a phenomenal soundtrack. If
fucking
you
great.
want to make a film, get Daft Punk in.
Especially if it's like a kind of neon light noir-y, like just get fucking Daft
So
Punk.
and yeah, Tron, beloved piece of history. More recently, we've got Ready Player One.
I mean, the one that I want to just jump into.
No,
'cause
save it. Save because we're going to talk about the best one.
Okay.
We'll save it for last.
I mean, I hope we're.
I think anyone that likes films and likes video games to a degree will know already what we're talking about. But if you don't,
I hope we're on the same page. I don't know if we're on the same page.
well, what are you? All right, fine. You do your one.
I was
Ruin
gonna-
the surprise.
No, I won't. We'll continue what I was saying, and then we'll keep everyone in suspense, including us.
Dun, 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 dun.
Look at Audio Boy. He's fucking on the edge of his seat. That's not true. He's just slumped down, looking at his phone, not caring about anything.
We had Wreck-It Ralph.
Which was a movie.
I like Wreck-It Ralph.
I liked.
It's a Disney film.
I like the first act of Wreck-It Ralph when it feels like it's really just playing with video games,
But here's the thing.
and
so
then after
that's
that, it just
my exact point. So Wreck-It Ralph is a video game character who lives in an arcade, and then all the arcades are connected, and they come out to play at night. Toy Story, but with video games.
yeah.
But the first half has a lot of video game jokes, and it feels like they were playing to the video game fans. And then the second half is a straight up Disney film.
Yeah.
He goes into a video game kart race, which is set in Candyland, and then it just turns into
Gotta save.
gotta save Candyland.
Oh,
It's still heartfelt and it's very Disney, but it's kind of it pulled the rug a little bit. I felt, and then the second one's even worse. The second one
Didn't even
has
see the second
little
one.
to no video game references.
Yeah,
and
because
is a
it just goes to the
glorified
internet so they can have
advert,
like
pretty much.
Facebook and eBay because people apparently still use eBay.
Well, yeah, so yeah, meh. Ready Player One. I mean, I said a second ago, and for all of its flaws, was a really nice kind of boiling pot, cooking pot,
Melting pot.
melting pot.
I love how there are just little sayings and you dance around the saying, but you
I can never get them.
like losing your biscuits. Still not a thing.
That's a saying.
It's not a saying.
That's a saying.
I've asked people and they're like, that's not a saying.
I asked loads of people as well.
You don't know loads of people.
Everyone agreed with me.
No one agrees with you.
For all the fans listening,
All one
send
of
a
you.
message in. Send in. I want reviews, emails, comments, whatever. Losing your biscuits, yay or nay? And prove Gavin wrong.
Don't prove. Why is it always me? Why?
Because you're telling me I'm wrong.
I feel like you're painting me as like the heel in these podcasts. Like I'm the bad guy, and you're like the lovable good guy.
Between us, I am a hero and you are a villain.
I mean, sure, but in the context of this podcast, maybe I'm the hero and maybe
No.
you're the villain.
In all contexts between the two of us, I am golden and you are brown.
Why brown?
Brown's like a villain colour.
Like jobbies?
Best Scottish word. For anyone that might be listening to this that's not from Scotland, jobbies means poo, and it is the best Scottish word.
And from people
Say
who
you
are
big,
from
say you big jobby.
big jobbies.
It's just so childish. It's a proper playground word. So yeah, Ready Player One.
Was a movie that wasn't great, but wasn't bad.
It was a big melting pot, and
It
it had
existed.
like plenty of pop culture, but it at
Oh
least
boy,
kind
did
of
it. And did it tell you over and over again about that pop culture?
it did. It
fucking
did.
just took a nail of pop culture and hammered it into your skull
at
over and over
least-
again.
It at least was, it stuck to its video game core. It tried to hold that too hard. I felt. I think,
It's just a weak Spielberg film.
but it did. It's better than the video game films we've talked about prior. That's the thing.
I mean, I would put it in the same camp as a lot of them.
Yeah?
It's just kind of like meh.
See, I like it.
Nah.
I like Ready Player. It's got its
I mean,
problems, but I
there
like
was
it.
like that moment at the end when there's like a Gundam and metal
Mecha Godzilla.
Mecha Godzilla fighting. I'm like, I mean, that's cool to look at, but everything up until this point, I was like, I don't care. I don't care about these two lead characters and how one of them is supposed to be unbelievably hideous, but all she has is like a tiny little freckle in
Yeah.
her face. And
It is funny. My mum recently watched it over Christmas, and she loves the film now. She thinks it's like one of the best films she's ever seen. And I
we
was
should
like,
have her on the podcast.
good on you, ma'am. But I hadn't noticed this until she pointed it out. So the whole film, Wade Watts is trying to get high fives off everyone, and everyone always leaves him hanging. And my mum was like, everyone leaves him hanging. And I was like, oh, it's funny, actually. Hadn't ever noticed that joke. And then I realized at the end of the film, the group of them, they call themselves the High Five. And I was like, there must be something that's been edited out, because that just comes out of nowhere. Them just going, oh, the High Fives are coming in hot. And yeah, I definitely feel like there's a chunk of the film they've taken out.
I mean, I wish there was chunks of that film they had taken out that they didn't, but
You stop being so down.
like the Shining segment, which just felt distasteful and disrespectful. And I was like,
You are just such a grumpy
I'm not. I'm a lovable
film
rogue.
grump, ain't you?
I'm
You're
like
just
Han
film
Solo.
grump.
I'm a lovable rogue.
Gavin the Grump.
I shoot first
Whatever name you come up with from now on, you're Gavin the Grump.
because of alliteration.
Yep. You know Sausage Maker, you know Well Whisperer. You're now just Gavin
what
the
about white
Grump.
sauce maker?
No white sauce maker. Your carbonara has been taken away from
Not my carbonara. When
you.
I love getting my meaty chunks out.
Jumanji 2, which came out
I love when Audio Boy just slumps his head into his hands
because he
when I
knows
say things.
he's making work for him, so he knows he's going to have to take
He
chunks
doesn't
out
have
of
to
this.
take meaty chunks out. I'm just talking about the little bits of ham and that I put through the carbonara.
Jumanji 2 came out very recently, and I love that film. I actually think that's a
didn't
great
see
film.
it.
It's so good, and the amount of people that I've told to watch that film, they've been like, "I'm not going to see it because it's Jumanji, The Rock, Kevin Hart. It just looks awful." And then they've watched it and been like, "Damn, like it's enjoyable, like pure and simple, good fun." Video game centric, and it plays the video game elements quite nicely.
Like leveling up and respawning and stuff.
Leveling up, respawn, multiple lives, and it's good. But the creme de la creme of video game
So
films.
excited to see what you're going to say.
Well, I think I'm going to say the best one.
Okay.
So the creme de la creme, best video game movie out there
Well, but
is
it's kind of like inspired by video game.
inspired by,
Yeah.
very inspired by video game culture, is Edgar Wright's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Not what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, also a very good film, actually. So we'll talk about both of these, I think, in a bit more depth. So Scott Pilgrim is Edgar Wright, and it's one of his best films, I think, and very video game centric, very very comic book centric. It's basically a guy's love story where he's got to beat up 7 deadly exes, and he kind of goes through the motions of different he goes through a skating section, he goes through a fighting section, he goes through a music battle section, like the whole thing, and it's funny, and the script is tight, and it looks gorgeous,
and it's visually just
like I love Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. It's amazing.
What are you boys? I've never seen him smile so much during a podcast.
It's just a great film, and it's just one of these. It holds up.
The music's great.
Music's great. Everything about
It's got
it.
Macaulay Culkin's brother in it,
Macaulay Culkin's brother.
and it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead who.
What else does he get up to?
Oh yeah, unfortunately, it's got Anna Kendrick. You can't have
Brie
everything.
Larson.
Can't win everything.
Chris Evans. It's got a great cast.
Apart from Anna Kendrick,
I like Anna Kendrick.
someone has to.
And Michael Cera.
I like Michael Cera, yeah.
The baby-faced man.
And Macaulay Culkin's brother.
What's his name? John McCulkin? Scott McCulkin. I knew it was something like... Is it just Scott Culkin? What did I say? Well, I was saying McCulkin. McCulkin.
Scott Culkin.
Scott McCulkin. Scott Culkin, yeah. I don't know. Did you ever see that short that I can't remember the name of it now? Driver or something like that? The first episode they did was Macaulay Culkin, and he's an Uber driver. He pulls up to pick this guy up. The guy gets in the back of the car, and they start driving off. And Macaulay Culkin, it was when Macaulay Culkin was all like emaciated and had his long hair and looked like a junkie. And he's driving off, and Macaulay Culkin's like, "Oh man, I never want to be driving cabs, but you know, when your parents leave you for not just once but twice, it has its effects, man." And they obviously can't call him. I can't remember the name of the kid from Home Alone. Kevin McAllister. That's where I'm getting the muck from. Kevin McAllister.
Yeah, that's where he got it from.
They obviously can't call him Kevin McAllister, but they make it very clear this is the aftermath of Kevin McAllister, who's now just this strung out junkie.
I mean, it makes perfect sense.
It's amazing. It's a really good little short. I'm going to try and dig that up. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim, great movie. But I fully agree with you. Edge of Tomorrow.
It takes the structure
of a video
game, which is like you learn through dying. It's like, well, you got this thing. Oh, right, I know what's coming up next. So in my next life, when I respawn, I'll do this time. And then it takes that structure and then builds the kind of Groundhoggy Day narrative around it. And it's just a solid action movie. It's got a great kind of chemistry between Cruise and Emily Blunt, and it's just so much fun.
It is a good film.
And it was just.
And it was surprisingly funny. I think that was like, I remember when that came out, and I thought it was going to be super like
glum
and grey, and then it was like, oh wait, a sci-fi time loop thing. Okay, this is interesting. And then it's the bit where he gets hit by he's trying to escape from his army duties, and he rolls under the van, and it runs over him, and he goes ah, and then the guy turns around and is like, God damn it, son! But it's all played very funnily, and I was like, that's a good joke. Like, what's happening here?
Because it's unfortunately though a film that kind of flew under the radar, didn't have a big box office return. They're trying to get a sequel going, but Tom Cruise is obviously doing back-to-back Mission Impossible movies now, and Emily Blunt is fucking. She's going to be in like Quiet Place 2, and she's fucking Mary Poppins. She's Emily Blunt. She's very busy. So it's like, do we do these big tentpole movies that are going to make a bunch of money, or do we do an Edge of Tomorrow 2, which might? I mean, I think if they did another one, it would do it much better because of like the kind of cult status that film has gained over the years.
It's picked up.
But yeah, that's one of those kind of video game inspired movies. I remember watching it. It's been like, this is like the best unofficial video game movie, and I love it. And Tom Cruise is great, and I don't care what anyone says. I like Tom Cruise.
So, final thoughts on this, and then we'll properly wrap up. They keep making video game movies, which are films about video games, as we talked about. But what I don't understand is, you can make a movie which is like, I suppose like if you make a good movie, you're making a video game film, right? And what I mean by that is, Resident Evil is a horror, slow-paced game, and it's got to span X amount of hours, otherwise people moan. But if you watch 1982, John Carpenter's The Thing,
yeah, buddy,
that is effectively that's watching a horror video game, like that. You know what I mean? It's
kind of
in this. I suppose what I'm trying to say is, it's like horror. The best horror movie you can make is the ideal for a horror video game. The best action movie you're going to make is the ideal. Like, you don't need to call it a video game film. Films that nail their genres, action, comedy, like, well, not comedy, but action, horror.
All those comedy video games that we
All
play.
those comedy videos. You know what I mean? Like action, horror, like first-person shooters. Like if you just make a good film in its genre, you can just watch it and be like, yeah, cool. That, like, why do you need to make them? Why do you need to call it a video game movie? It's just this weird kind of. We're trapped in this weird bubble where they keep trying to make these films and
no one wants them.
well, nobody wants them.
And
And
they're
it's
not
like
good.
if you just made a good action movie, like you said it yourself actually earlier, Indiana Jones. That is Uncharted. It is Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Like.
They're massively inspired by that film.
So
or
why?
those
So
films.
like, why are we trying to make a Tomb Raider film? And it's like, cool, you've got Indiana Jones.
Yeah, because then the entire time I was watching Tomb Raider, I'm just like, I could just go home and watch Indiana Jones. This is
That's
just
you know what I mean. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's like any film that nails its genre in the action, the horror, suspense. I guess, like heist movies for stealth games.
I mean, look at like John Wick. It's like at
Exactly.
points that feels like a fucking
I
video
mean,
game.
the first John Wick finishes with a boss fight on a pier where the guns run out and they literally go into a side
Yeah.
screen fight scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember saying to whoever, I can't remember who I was watching it with, but I remember saying to them, like, this is a video game film, right? And they were like, no, it's John Wick. And I was like, if this didn't start off as somebody being like, oh, it's like, it's like a video game, we'll call it this. And the guy was like, no. Just call it John Wick. Let's take all the video game references out. Action film. Bosh. That's all you need.
Or another perfect example from last year was Upgrade, where that was just felt like a video game movie, wasn't based upon anything. It was just an original property from the guy who did Saw, and I was just like, this feels like a video game of like he's got these new powers and he's got goals that could be considered missions, and like he has to complete them, and like some of the fight scenes felt kind of something out of like a video game, just like the way it kind of mechanically worked. And I was just like,
Totally. But I suppose you get my point.
Yeah.
It's like, why do we keep lumping video game movies out when it's like, no, just look at any good film in its genre, and that's...
Just take the kind of narrative or structural ideas of video games and make a movie around that. Or do the opposite way of like take a video game, take the kind of narrative structures of movies and put that into your video game.
Yeah.
But don't try and have the Resident Evil movie and the Resident Evil game be the exact same thing, because it's not going to work.
Right. Let's wrap there. We've had one technical glitch. First technical glitch I think we've ever had as well,
I
actually.
think so.
First technical glitch.
And it'll be the last, won't it, Audio Boy? Or there'll be punishment. I'll get my carbonara sauce out, and you don't want that.
Calm it, Grumpy Gav.
Okay, sorry.
Guys, that's it from us. We will be back next week. Thank you very much for listening. As always, you can find us on Facebook if you just search for the Meandering Movie Podcast.
Yep.
We are on Instagram.
The Mandarin Movie Podcast, you search for us on that.
And you can get us on Twitter at MeanderingPod.
Yes.
We'd love it if you left us a review on whatever streaming device you're listening to. Reviews will help us kind of get noticed and get us picked up. And if we get picked up, we will we'll be able to make more of these as we go on.
And maybe we'll read out some of those reviews on the podcast.
And we'll read out
just
our favourite
to,
ones as well.
smooth our egos.
So, yeah, please leave us a review. Let us know what you like. If you want us to talk about anything in particular, please just send us a message and we'll get back to you and hopefully talk about your topic. Thanks for listening. I'm Gary Copeland.
I'm Big Ol' Gav.
And we'll speak to you later.
Bye.
It's Meandering Movies. It's Meandering Movies. It's Meandering Movies. So